Falafels are traditional Middle Eastern food, and I absolutely love them. But what I don't love is having a ton of oil and have them being deep fried, and now they're not very good for you. So if you can take that out of the equation and still make them taste great, we're going to try to do that today, and I think you'll see that these are a great substitute. We're going to be using, traditional falafels use garbanzo beans, so we're definitely going to be using garbanzo beans. But they use flour, and instead of flour, we're going to be using something called garbanzo bean flour to eliminate that whole flour process. This is going to bump up the protein, the fiber. It's a really great substitute. We're also going to be using some great spices, some coriander, some cumin, and some chili powder, some salt. And I'm going to use some great fresh vegetables with this. I'm going to be using some parsley and some cilantro. We'll bump it up with some lemon, give it a nice flavor. And then we'll also use some garlic, okay? There's nothing better than fresh garlic. So what we need for this recipe is we need a high-speed food processor and just the S-blade. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and add our garbanzo beans, about 2 cups. And from there, we're going to add our garbanzo bean flour, and I need 2 tablespoons of this. Okay, go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of this. This is going to help it bind together. And we're going to process this. We want a texture that's not going to be too hummus-like in consistency, so I really don't want to process this too much. So we're just going to pulse it a few times until everything kind of is more crumbly, like a coarse texture. Okay? Okay, great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up some of my cilantro, and about 1/4 of a cup of this. And cilantro is really going to give it a nice flavor. So I'm just chopping this up slightly. And you know, you don't have to go crazy with this if you like a little bit more. I like a little bit less of a leaf to show. So 1/4 cup of that. Okay, and then same with my parsley. Now parsley is a huge detoxifier of the blood. It's really amazing. In fact, the green part of your greens is the same equivalent to that of your blood. The only difference is that your blood has a molecule called iron and the greens have a molecule called magnesium, but everything else is the same. So if you want to cleanse your blood, think about greens and more greens, and the darker the green, the better. Okay, you're going to get a lot of good calcium from your greens, and not only that, it's beautiful. Let's add it, okay? So I'm also going to add a clove of garlic. I'm just going to go ahead and take my clove of garlic and take the skin off. And this is a pretty big clove of garlic, but you can't go wrong with garlic. Why? Because it's a huge antiviral. And garlic is going to really help you fight the common cold, anything that's viral. You know what's cool about garlic is that there are no 2 cloves of garlic alike. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if you get sick, you don't have to worry about the bugs mutating to the garlic, because there's no 2 cloves of garlic alike, and you take that garlic and you're going to get rid of that bug a lot faster without any weird mutations that you're going to see with antibiotics, because it's a natural antibiotic. Okay, now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of my fresh lemon juice. And I love lemon. Lemon is awesome. Very good for your immune system as well. So we're going to do about 2 tablespoons. 1 lemon is about 2 tablespoons. So that's a good rule of thumb. Some lemons are smaller, obviously, but you get 2 in there, you're good to go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and process this back up. Oh, let's do this now too. Let's add our salt. We're going to add 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon of our salt to 1 teaspoon. Okay. Some good sea salt there. Okay. I'm going to pulse this again. I just want this all to kind of combine nice, but don't go crazy because we don't want to have a hummus, okay? And that's it. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to put this into a bowl. And you can see my texture here is really nice. It's not too much. And if you find that it's a little bit too, maybe it's too watery for you, go crazy and it goes a little bit too watery for you, you can always just add a little bit more of the garbanzo bean flour to kind of bind it back up, okay? So no frets, don't worry, this will all work out. Okay, so now come on back with me. We're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna toast my spices, and then we're gonna make our falafel patties. Okay, so we're on to part 2 of our making our falafel patties, and I'm gonna show you a really cool trick. To make anything taste incredible, toast your spices. So we're gonna toast our spices. It's so simple. You just take a dry pan and over medium-high heat, take your spices, which is your coriander, your cumin, your chili powder, any spice will do, actually, you can, but this really changes things for me. You know, you could just skip this whole process and make it, but to make it really special, I like to toast my spices. So we turn this on to a medium-high heat, and all you're gonna do is just move your spices around in the pan. Just get them toasted. You don't wanna burn them. So, you know, 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how high or how hot your pan is, should do. Another trick to know is if it just starts to become fragrant. Once it starts to release its fragrance, then you know it's ready. So we're just gonna spice these up. Okay, so there we go. That's just about all we need. We're gonna pour these back into our wet ingredients, our dry toasted spices into our wet ingredients, and give it a stir. Now you can definitely do this ahead of time if you want to make these toasted spices ahead of time and then put all your spices together. That works as well. But for purposes of this demo, we're just going to go ahead and do it this way. Okay, so we have our falafel mixture, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put this over to our other pan. Now, using a non-stick pan, you don't necessarily have to spray it. I went ahead and sprayed it just to make sure that these things won't stick, but definitely if you have a non-stick pan, you don't have to use any oil. Or if you want to use oil, just use the spray oil. And that way it's very minimal. It's just going to keep things from sticking. Okay, so we're just going to have our falafel batter here. And I usually like to warm up my pan before I put these on, but use about a, you know, these scoops are great because you can get about a 1 tablespoon scoop. And then we're just gonna go ahead and turn these into little patties. And I usually just kind of keep them in the scoop and then flatten them out as I need to. And then these are great. You know, traditionally falafels are about this size. So you can definitely make them like this and then put them into your pita. They're a great little size. But if you want to make them bigger, go for it too. Okay, so we're done. We have our great falafel patties. And these are a wonderful thing to add to a pita. I like to just put them on top of a salad. Maybe put some hummus over the top of these. They're awesome. Check out our website for a great hummus recipe. And, you know, have fun with really healthy food and enjoy with your friends and family. Bon appetit.